since Carla is not here, do we have somebody else that can do the translation?
We don't need her this minute. We need her for the questions and answers after the presentation. So she may be running late.
Okay, good point.
Okay, so it is 7 o'clock. We have 35 attendees. This is great.
I got 51.
And 16 panelists.
Oh,
Okay, so this Zoom session will be recorded and posted at www.lakebalboanc.org/7650 Balboa Boulevard. Hi, neighbors. Today is Wednesday, March 24, 2021. I am Linda Gravani, the president of the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. We are 17 board members who volunteer for our beautiful Lake Balboa community. This meeting will be translated into Spanish by Laura. So thank you, Laura. We appreciate you. This town hall regarding the proposed 7-story, 150-unit apartment building at 7650 Balboa Boulevard, Lake Balboa, which is just north of Satakoy on the east side of the street. This project requires a zone change needing city approval. We are asking you, the stakeholders, for your viewpoint to help the Lake Balboa board members determine on whether or not to support this zone change. Tom Riley is the chair of the Land Use Committee, and I'm going to turn the mic over to you.
oh, thank you. The way the program will work is we'll have the presentation by the developers team in a few minutes. We will hold all the questions and concerns and thoughts until the complete presentation is done. Then we will open it up to questions and answers. And those questions and answers can be submitted via the question and answer process. What will happen is at the end of Aaron's presentation, Linda will explain how to use the question and answer process so that you're all comfortable with it. At 9 o'clock tonight or earlier, the meeting will end. If we end the meeting earlier, fine. If we have unanswered questions at 9 o'clock, those questions will be submitted to Aaron and his team, and they have roughly a week to answer them and get them back to us and in time for our meeting. The way it's going to work from here is we've got tonight's meeting for the community, and the purpose is for us to get a feel for how the community feels about this plan and this project, etc. The Land Use Committee on April the 5th at 7 o'clock on a Zoom will discuss and make a recommendation to the Neighborhood Council, which will have their meeting on April the 7th, 2 days later, also at 7 o'clock. So there will be a chain, and we'll keep everybody informed as best we can. And we will go from there. So I think at this time, I will turn it over to Aaron. And Aaron, if you can introduce Jake and Tina, that would be great. Aaron will be the lead presenter. The other two will be in the background slapping him on and encouraging him. So Aaron, it's yours.
Tom, thank you. And Linda, thank you. And to all the board members of the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council and everybody who has signed on to watch and participate this evening, I really appreciate it. My name is Aaron Green. My firm, the Afria Consulting Group, has the pleasure of representing the Weintraub Real Estate Group on this project. My colleague Tina Vartanian is joining me, as is Jake Jessen, who is with the Weintraub Real Estate Group. And before I get into discussing the project itself, I asked Jake just to spend a minute or two telling us about himself and the project, or I should say the his team and how we got here today, why they decided to do this project and just their history here.
Sure. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you everyone for logging in tonight, and also thank you everyone for your time over the past couple of years. It's been a good ride and an interesting one and fun one. This project is special to us, not just because it fills a much needed purpose, but it's also something that's right in Richard's backyard. Richard's a local kid. He went to Birmingham High. After Birmingham, he went to USC, where during college, he started his career in real estate. Richard's career is really focused on local projects that are near and dear to his heart, areas that he has history with and personal experience with. He's built a very successful firm, not chasing returns all over the country like a lot of development firms do, but sticking to the core principles and areas of what's important to him. What really brought us here today is a couple of years ago, Richard and I were in our conference room and we had a conversation with Aaron Green. Richard and Aaron, who have a long history together, as Aaron can further support. And Richard's saying, you know, Aaron, what's a good project right now? What does the community really need? And Aaron's relaying, you know, affordable housing is something that's very, very important right now. Richard, in his head, turned to me and said, you know, we have that great property in Van Nuys. I think that'd be a fantastic area for affordable housing. We really need to get going on this. And ever since then, we've been moving as fast as we possibly can. It's top priority in our office to get this project done, and something we're really looking forward to bringing towards the community. I'll turn it back to Aaron, and I'm here for anything if needed.
Thanks, Jake. And I am going to share my screen so I can get right into this presentation. So Tom, maybe you can confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So as Linda mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, we're looking at the property that is at 7650 Balboa, which, as I think most folks know, is the Vista Mobile Home Park right here along Balboa Boulevard, and this is Saticoy. The site is a pretty large site. It goes all the way back to the end by the Wash, and what we're looking at really right now, and for the proposed project, excuse me, is just the front portion of the site, about, I think it's about the front 17%, give or take. So everything that I'm going to be showing this evening, just as it relates to any sort of new building, is here at the front. The remainder, the entirety of the rest of the mobile home park, there will be some investments and upgrades to some of the space, but the rest of the mobile home park is not sort of part of this project, if you will. So what we're really proposing is a new apartment building to go in the front of the property, with a road that, an entrance here at the bottom of the property, and then an exit here. I'll show a little bit more how that circulation works. We're proposing, as Linda mentioned at the beginning, 150 apartments at this property, of which half of them will be rented for below market rate. So, you know, less than a sort of standard apartment that would be rented in a new project. And I can get into some of those details as well. We're also proposing to move some of the space around within the park, while not displacing anybody's homes here, but build a small park interior to the mobile home park itself. So, as I mentioned, this is 75 units of below market rate and 75 regular apartments all mixed in together at the same building. And we also have half an acre of open space in this project. So really, we wanted to create something where it was not tight and dense and packed in. There's a lot of breathing room and a lot of foliage, a lot of green space. And that's something that Richard Weintraub has directed my firm to do over many years when we've been working with him on many different projects. So some of the things that are included in this project are a daycare, both for residents of the apartment building as well as residents of the mobile home park. and potentially also for folks who live in the neighborhood, depending on space available. And I can talk about that a little bit. A lot of new tree planting, both interior to the property as well as on the sidewalk. A lot of spaces within the apartment building that are available to both the future apartment building residents, along with our mobile home residents, things like barbecue stations, a game room. I mentioned, sort of the daycare and those types of things, as well as some other facilities and investments that we'll be making in the mobile home park, separate from the new apartment building that I'll talk about in a moment. For a sort of general take and what this building is. So this is a 7-story building. The first 2 stories above ground are parking and some amenity space in front. So we've got some space here that we're kind of planning for probably a bit of a gym space for both the apartment building as well as the mobile home park. We've got some leasing space here. And then above on the apartment building, because it is a larger apartment building, what we've really done is we've designed it in a way to break up the building itself. So it's not just kind of one large block. And you'll see that by the various breaks that we have, as well as the different coloration, the different treatments, and the different colors that really line the building. I'll show in some of the other renderings, the majority of the ground floors are covered with a green living wall to soften the building experience itself. Kind of the way that the project will work, because I know function is as much as is as important as anything else. So both for the new apartment building as well as residents in the mobile home park, everybody will enter off of this entrance right here, which is the one that's closer to Saticoy that's down there. So folks who live in the apartment building will go in and park within the building here. There will be a gate right here. And folks who live in the mobile home park will just continue to go straight down and enter down here. There will be another gate down there. So there will only be access to the mobile home park for mobile home park residents. This is just kind of a zoomed in view of that entrance. We've got some new signage that we're proposing. I want to note all of the paving throughout the site, both on the apartment building portion of it, as well as the mobile home park portion of it, will all be redone. A lot of what you're going to see, a lot of what we're showing here are the architect's designs for stamped paving and other kinds of treatments to really soften and try to make a more pleasant experience for both the apartment building as well as the mobile home park. When over the last handful of years since Richard Weintraub purchased the mobile home park, he's made a lot of investments and a lot of changes, but it's still, there's more that can be done in terms of really changing the day-to-day experience there, about how, just about how sort of lively it can be, if you will. So this is a shot taken, again, it's an architect's rendering taken from the back. And so what we're looking to do here is, again, this is that same driveway I sort of showed before. We're putting a big space in between where the apartment building is and where the existing mobile homes are. And this is sort of meant to be like a nice break between the buildings so that they're not on top of each other. There's an elevator right here that goes up onto the 3rd floor open space in the middle of the building, which I'll show in a moment. And what we've got here at the back is, this is a gathering room that's got a sink and a little bathroom that's intended to be for, small birthday parties or gatherings for residents. Again, everything that I'm talking about is both for the apartment building as well as residents in the mobile home park. So there's some inside seating as well as some outside seating. And it's really meant to be a space that, can just kind of serve as that like family day-to-day use for folks who want to get together. It also could be used for, if the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council needed a meeting for, subcommittee or something like that, that type of flex space is there. This is just sort of a zoomed in shot. This one I think is important because it really shows how much space is in between the apartment building and the mobile home park. And again, you can see the treatments that we're talking about adding to the pavement to just really soften the experience. And you'll note that there's a lot of planting throughout the site that's consistent both for the front portion as well as changes and improvements that we're going to make to the roadways in the remaining mobile home park. This is that sort of gathering space that I mentioned that, you know, is sort of for residents of both. And then there's a little stairway right here. Where this stairway goes is up to the third floor, which is open to the sun inside the apartment building that has a mix of uses that that are for both residents and the apartment building. So we're broken it out into a couple of areas. So we've got a courtyard with some play equipment here. We have some barbecue stations. This is where that little stairway is that I just kind of showed, swinging along the building and coming up in here. And then right here, it's kind of a faint outline. So I apologize if folks can't see it, but this is where the daycare will be. It'll have some flex space. So at night it can break down into a little bit of a sort of a play lounge. But the idea is that we'll have a daycare here during the day. And then kids who are in the daycare will be able to use some of the courtyard jungle gym space here, as well as the other play space that we're creating on the little park inside of mobile homes, the mobile home section of the project, or the property, I should say. Just to quickly sort of show an overhead plan view. So this again is that same sort of driveway. You loop out going this way. There will be another gate here. So one gate here for mobile home park residents, and then one gate here for mobile home park residents. So only folks who live in the mobile home park will be able to sort of get there. So we won't have issues with folks coming in and parking in somebody else's space or those types of issues. And then this will be the only, so there'll just be one lane in and one lane out. They're going to be wide drive aisles, so they'll be nice and safe. We have a lot of sort of planting and green space that we've created along the perimeter of the property. And I think this is just kind of helpful from an overhead view and sort of a big picture level. Going to that space that's in the interior of the building on the third floor, this is kind of what we're trying to create a feeling of, the energy of. So, you know, some plantings, as well as the type of thing where you might see sort of kid space with some printed sort of soft, fluffy turf where it's safe to play on. You know, you fall off a jungle gym or something like that, you're not going to hurt your elbow. The other, and I mentioned it a moment ago, the other thing that one of the things that we're doing is we're putting a small park, several thousand square feet, in sort of the middle of the Park Royale Mobile Home Park right here. So there's currently a trash facility here. And what we're proposing to do is take the trash facility and the laundry facility, combine them here, put in new machines, kind of rebuild that space, and take what's here and make this a park. You can sort of see some of the layout that we've got over here on this side. And again, we're looking at soft spaces, something that's safe, something that, you know, you're not going to scrape your elbow if you fall. This is really intended to be, I think, is hopefully folks can tell from the daycare to the open space that we're creating for play. This is really meant to be a family-oriented building. And so that's underpinning so much of what we've talked about and what we've designed into this project. One of the things that we heard in some of our early feedback, my colleague Tina spent some time knocking on doors on Keswick and on North Balboa and on some of the other streets. And we heard a lot of folks saying, you know what, this landscape median along North Balboa, it looks really sad. And we'd love it if there would be a way for the development team to plant trees there so that, one, it could be fuller, and two, for those of us who live right along North Balboa Boulevard, we'd have a bit of a screen between us and the project, which is still almost 100 feet away by the time you get from the property line here to homes here. But we said, sure, we'd be happy to do that, add that screening, add those trees. So this is what our landscape architect projects that it will look like if you're there on North Balboa, standing on the opposite side, looking over towards our project. So really screened, and we tried to create that protection for folks who wanted that concern. And we did hear that when we were going door to door, having some conversations, including with the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council when we met with you all last year. One of the things that's changed since we last met was we've added parking spaces to the building. So at our last meeting, we had 154 parking spaces that were proposed. We've added 32 of those. We've added 32 more, excuse me, for a total of 186. The way that we did that was we decided that even though it was quite costly and quite frankly, with a project with so much affordable housing, we had tried not to have to go underground. We are going to be adding an underground level to add additional parking. We did hear a lot of feedback from folks who were concerned that there might not be enough parking here. And so that's why we've gone underground and added 32 parking spaces. And then we have added some bicycle parking as well. So, sorry, I'm going to move my little thing so I can actually see these. So one of the things I wanted to do, and I'm guessing that Linda and Jeremy, I may be answering some of the questions in advance because these have come up a handful of times. And so I thought it would be helpful just to talk to a few of these questions that we've heard, whether it was, when we met with you all, we did we've done some mailings and heard back from folks or left flyers at folks' doors. We've gone door to door within the Park Royale mobile home park a number of times. And so a number of questions sort of kept on coming up. So one, is this project the one that I showed everybody where there's some changes to the front, but the vast majority, everything sort of off of Balboa, is this project the one that's going to be the only project here, or is there going to be something more that happens in the future? And without question, this is going to be the only development that happens at this site. By the sheer fact of the way that we're building this, the way that we're laying it out, the process that we're going through, this will be the only development at this site. So I can say that we've been saying it from the beginning, but I just want to really make that as clear as I possibly can. The question about why are we doing so much more in terms of providing more affordable housing than you're required to by the city, by the law. Normally a project like this might have between 10 and 11% of its units as designated as low-income units. In this project, we're doing 50%, so a full half of the units volunteered at rates that are below the market rate, below what a developer normally could charge. And you heard Jake tell the very direct story about how this project came about and why we're doing it this way. So the Richard Weintraub and the Weintraub Real Estate Group are volunteering to make 39% additional units, so 50% total below market rate. And that's something that will be included in the entitlements, and it'll end up being required by law. Those units will exist. And somebody can't come along later and change those rules. That will be stuck and frozen in place. And even if somebody else wanted to change it, if we wanted to change it, our hands would be tied. We couldn't change that. One of the other questions that we got, as I showed in the diagram, there's the front portion of the mobile home park will be impacted. And so for folks who are impacted, would they be offered a new apartment in the new building? And the answer is absolutely yes. And in fact, not only would we do that, all of those folks, we've reached out to each one of those 23 units at least 5 times with a combination of letters, knocking on folks' doors, things like that. Each one of those folks will get a custom support package as the project goes forward. Nobody's going to just be sort of asked to leave and said, thank you. This is going to be a very involved process with working with folks with a lot of support that's required by the law as much as it is the right thing to do. And in addition to that, any residents who are asked to leave as part of the development project will be invited back, and we're happy to give them first bite at the apple of the new units, including if they qualify for lower income units, to get a first bite at the apple of those lower income units. One of the other questions that has come up, and I've not had the chance to share this yet because it's a newer change or addition to the project, is who are going to be the people who live in those below market rate units? Well, in addition to anybody who wants to return to the building, And we've talked about additionally creating a way to inform people who live in the local neighborhood so that they can kind of hear first if those below market units become available. We've created a partnership with Valley Community Healthcare. Some folks may know them. They're a nonprofit healthcare provider in the San Fernando Valley. And what we're going to be doing is working with them for their staff who want to live in this building, that they can live in this building with and sort of get invited into it sort of as a priority along with local residents, so that we can have healthcare providers and, everything from administrative assistants to, nurses, LVNs, those types of things living in this building. So that's a lot of who we'll be working with for placement into the low income units, which I think is great because it means there will be more healthcare practitioners in the neighborhood. The gates, so there will be, as I think I kind of walked through, 2 sets of gates. There will be gates to the building itself, which apartment residents will have access to, and then there will be gates to the mobile home park. The mobile home park residents will have access to. And last thing, I know I kind of mentioned this a bunch, but all of the residents in both the apartment building and the mobile home park will have access to all of the amenities for both sites. Jeremy, I could answer a lot of questions. I think there's a lot more about this project, but I'd like to stop there and sort of hand it back to you, field questions, and go with the format as you'd like to. And I can stop sharing my screen as well if you'd like.
Sure. Let me, I'll start with the questions that we have in the Q&A, and then I have another list from some various different emails and folks that have sent in various different questions. One of them regards, there's actually a couple that are kind of in the same ballpark, but in terms of traffic, somebody asked about if there's going to be a traffic light there. Is there any kind of issues with parking? And related items going into that area.
Yeah, so I think in the parking, I kind of spoke about it in my presentation. I'm happy to talk more about it. As it relates to the traffic, we are going through a very detailed environmental study with the city of Los Angeles. It's called an MND. It requires a whole host of different studies for all sorts of things for the project. One of the most robust ones, one of the biggest ones, is a traffic study. The city and the traffic consultants are preparing that now. So I don't have the answers, but it will be published and available for anybody in the world to review. And I'm happy to make sure that the neighborhood council gets a copy of that study and the entire study so that it can be shared with folks. But I wouldn't want to presume as to what the answers are when the experts are still looking at it right now.
Got it. One other question.
If I could, Jeremy, for just a second, I'm really
Sure.
sorry. I got bounced off and I missed the end of your presentation. I just want to make sure that the people know how to ask a question. So if you're on the phone, if you do an asterisk or a *9, that will raise your hand. If you do a *6, you will be unmuted and you'll be able to chat. If you're speaking in Spanish, Carla is supposed to be on and she is going to translate in the question and answer section. On Zoom, down at the bottom of your screen, there is more, it says, where you can raise your hand, or you'll see that you can raise your hand so that you can ask a question. And we will be going back and forth. Jeremy will be assisting and asking or responding. And we've got also a list of questions that were presented prior to this presentation. And I do apologize, I was bumped off and I had to come back on again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason, sorry, Jeremy, just one other question you raised about a signal or something like that.
Yeah.
We are not planning on adding a traffic signal. We've had some initial conversations with the city's Department of Transportation about whether or not that would even be appropriate. And they've indicated that there shouldn't be a traffic signal, especially so close to the intersection of Balboa and Satiquay.
Okay. Somebody asked if the developer donated to Councilwoman Nura Martinez, Supervisor Sheila Quell, or Mayor Garcetti.
To be honest, I don't know. I don't deal with his political donations.
Okay.
I'm really focused on this project. All political donations are a matter of public record. So if somebody wanted to find them, I'm sure they could.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to jump back to the emails here.
Okay, there's somebody with their hand up. And I'm going to ask you to unmute. Okay. Terry, you want to ask your question?
Sure. We currently have difficulty with mobile home park residents because I live pretty much across the street from where you're proposing this project. We have mobile home park residents come drop off cars, leave them for days at a time. I can only imagine what it's going to mean when we add 150 residents to our section of Balboa. So are the mobile home park residents going to have more parking spaces? And I would like to know how many people are allowed to live in each apartment. Is there a limit as to how many cars they're allowed to have?
Was that the end of the question,
Yep.
Terry?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So right now there's about, and Jake, you can correct me if I get this wrong, there's approximately 1 parking space per mobile home in the project itself. What we're proposing to do is put 186 parking spaces for the 150 apartments. So there should be a net addition of parking. Exactly where the parking is going to lay out in terms of if there may be 1 or 2 a handful of mobile home park residents who might have access to some of the parking in the building. We're still navigating those exact details. So, and there's no way by law to say how many people can live in an apartment or a mobile home or how many cars people can have. So unfortunately, I can't comment on like the law about how many people will be able to live in an apartment. What I can tell you is that we would certainly be supportive and happy to help you and your other neighbors if you wanted to put in a preferential parking district, which would protect you from having folks who don't live on your street have folks who don't live on your street parking.
Thank you.
Aaron, let me ask there's 2 questions that are kind of in somewhat related here, and then we'll get to another hand here. One, someone is asking where the low-income applicants can apply and when, and I kind of coupled with that, someone is saying that they're actually going to be in a unit that will be affected by this building project, but they've never received any kind of information package, anything to let them know what they can expect and when, and any details.
So Jeremy, to your first question, the sign-up process has not been set up yet because the project's not approved. Once the project gets approved, we'll put something like that in place. And we're happy to make sure that neighborhood council is aware of it so you can share it with your constituents who live in this area. As it relates to the person who mentioned that they live in one of the impacted units but hadn't heard from anybody, I'm not sure who that person is, but what I can tell you is that in addition to knocking on people's doors and leaving flyers, there have also been certified letters and phone calls sent as well. So in a few cases, there have been some people who've said they don't want to talk to us. So it's possible that that might be one of those people. I'm not really sure. But we spent about 2 months, several days a week, knocking on doors within the mobile home park, including and actually specifically providing a little bit of extra emphasis on those 23 mobile homes towards the front. So if that person is there, I can give my email address, which is just really easy. It's Aaron, AARON, at Afriat, AFRIAT.com. And anybody can please contact me, especially that resident, Jeremy, that you mentioned. We'd love to talk with you and make sure that you have all the information that we've been providing all the others.
And sorry to interrupt, but just to make it easier for everyone, I'll go ahead and put mine and Aaron's email in the chat so they can have access to it easily.
Perfect,
you,
thank
Tina.
you. There's a question with a hand raised. Let me allow you to talk. I don't want to use your name unless you want me to. You need to unmute yourself, M.
Yeah.
M. Slattery.
Linda, I'm sorry, I can't hear
Hello,
anybody.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. How many of these low income units will be leased or rented to Section 8 residents?
I don't know that we've made a determination on that yet. We haven't set any number one way or another. Is there do you have feedback or a suggestion?
I have a concern. I live in the neighborhood in a home, and yes, it's very concerning actually. And I'm quite concerned about the demographics, the type of people who'll be moving into our area. Obviously, security is a huge concern. And I'm very concerned about how many people are allowed per unit. I realize that the California law, I believe, is no more than 3 or 4 in a 1-bedroom, and I believe 5 in a 2-bedroom. And in a studio, I believe it's 2 and possibly 3. I might be wrong on that. But my husband and I are quite concerned. We're elderly, we live in the area, and our security is of obviously a big concern to us.
Well, and so one thing, without being able to comment on how many folks might or might not receive public assistance and be living in those units, and I understand that and I hear what you're saying, that folks who might be receiving Section 8 you perceive as somehow more impactful or dangerous. What I can tell you is that, one of the reasons that we partnered with Valley Community Healthcare is to make sure that we've got a good mix of folks who live in the building, including healthcare providers and folks who work in healthcare, so that there's that sort of energy and feeling and community within the building itself.
Meaning what exactly? What difference would that make if they're living in the building? Is that to take care of people?
It's just
take care of residents?
No, they're not there to sort of serve the other residents. It's there as part of creating a community dynamic. Same way, if I have a nurse to me, I'd be happy.
I guess my question is, I don't understand how that would make any difference if we have people who have addiction problems, etc., living in the building, therefore impacting our community and our security.
I think what I'm hearing you say is that maybe folks who receive Section 8 have addiction issues, and I'm not sure that I can say that I know that to be true.
Well, it's that and low income also. It's not just Section 8, but.
And I also can't say that, I've had experience where people who are low income also have addiction problems. So
I have actually, and that's why I'm concerned. That's why I'm asking the question.
But I understand. I understand.
And I believe that, I don't understand why it's 50% of this building, which looks like an eyesore, by the way. It's not even attractive. I don't understand why you would allow 50% to be low income housing. I don't think that's necessary in this city.
So Ms. Slaughter, you're saying you would like less low income housing in this building?
Absolutely.
Okay. I hear that and I appreciate that.
I'm concerned about our property values as well as our security.
Understood. As you can see, my colleague Tina's vociferously writing notes here, and I've got somebody else writing notes as well. So I have heard your concern about people who have Section 8 or who are low income, and you believe that they might pose a threat to you. So I do understand.
Yes, thank you.
I understand what you're
and
saying.
I'm speaking for a lot of other people in my area who are elderly and who were unable to access this call. So there are actually quite a large group that I'm speaking for. And I was hoping I could get back to them with some answers. And I did send an email. I know that I think it was Linda who responded and just said, thank you for your question last night. And I'm speaking for a lot of people, actually.
Thank you. Yes, I responded to everyone with that same comment so that you knew that it was received. We have about 7 people with their hands raised. So let me go on to Peggy.
Thank you.
Perfect. Go ahead, Peggy. You're muted, Peggy. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Hi, thank you for taking my call. I am also very concerned about parking issues in our neighborhood. Even before the proposed building is built, if it is going to be built, we have many people, as was pointed out earlier, dropping cars off, running across Balboa, and that in itself is not safe. Then when children are being dropped off at Stagg Street School in the morning, the traffic is horrendous. Parents, people coming to pick up their cars, people coming to pick up another car. The fact that the people who live in the trailer parks themselves do not have enough parking for their own vehicles, that is going to add to the problem when an apartment building that does.
Oh, I think we lost Peggy.
It will be a major parking issue. Already Stagg Street and Strathern Street are parked to the utmost every morning, and it's for the residents very difficult to get out of their streets safely and carefully, watching for the children heading toward Stagg Street School. So I would suggest that you double the parking places for the people who are going to be living in the apartments, because you know for a fact there will be 2 cars per apartment, if not more. So that would be something that you, the builder, need to think about before you propose to continue on with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. I see that there's a couple hands that are raised that have already asked questions. So we're going to go through people that have not asked a question already until we run out of questions, and then we'll go through the list again. Thank you. I have guest.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. It was sweet to hear Richard's endearing heart about his neighborhood and how he grew up in Birmingham and what's very important to him. But my concern is, if it's so important to him, why has he let this park go down the drain as a slumlord? We're on police watch for years and years.
Thank you. Oh.
I'm sorry, the parking got worse as soon as VMA came in and they took out 35 parking spaces from our park. That was so unnecessary. The reason why you're not going to have another building like you are, which Richard will try and put this building up, is because he's selling off the back of the park. The park now is in approval for a split of property. That means there'll be one owner in the front and everybody in the back is going to get a new owner, which means all of the rent control in the back will be gone. We're concerned about sewer, water, and the electrical. We already have problems with sewer. Our homes have been cut off from water for 30 days for the last 6 months from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we're on a pandemic here. So yes, the entrance and exits are very much a problem. We don't have security. We haven't had a secured gate for over 9 months. They took away our security guard 4 years ago. So Richard, Please explain to me that you want to be this beautiful owner of 150 beautiful new buildings, but you can't take care of what you've owned for these years and years and years.
Hallelujah. I love you.
Linda, if I may, I mean, I think
He's a developer and he's gonna fucking make money. That's why.
Who's speaking, please?
The family show here.
That was Terry, and she should be muted.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
So Linda, if I may, just do a couple of those. You know, the gate, for example, is broken right now because one of the current residents hit it with their car a couple of weeks ago, as I understand it. Jake, it may have been as much as a month ago. And there is a part on order that I believe is arriving May 5th. Because of the pandemic, been able to arrive. But it will be arriving on May 5th, I believe is the current order. And I believe the installation will be done by May 8th or May 9th. On the water issues, the park when Richard purchased it was old and it was derelict. And in the last handful of years, the Weintraub Real Estate Group has invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in this park, including just finishing a $150,000 water line improvement. As part of the revitalization of the rest of the park, the way it's lined up right now, because it was built, I believe, in the 50s, there's basically one line in and one line out. And so when somebody clogs their toilet or they break something in their mobile home or there's a leak in somebody's plumbing, the whole property has to be turned off because that's how it was built in the 1950s. As part of this project, if folks want it, and some people may want it and some people may not want it, we can change the way that the water is hooked up so it's kind of like individual metering. So when your neighbor breaks something, it doesn't shut off the water for you. Unfortunately, that's been part of the big problem with the water at the park recently. And I know that there was an emergency shutdown just last week or the week before, again, I think because somebody broke something in their home. So there's also been a lot of, new paint, stuff that just honestly, as I understand it, wasn't done before. While this mobile home park, I know, and I've been there, I don't live there, but I've been there a number of times. It's not perfect, but it's much better, as I understand it, than it was when Richard purchased it.
thank you. Okay, we've got a couple more hands here. Thelma and then
Linda, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just saw in the chat that some people are having trouble with the call-in number. I don't mean to interrupt the question asking, but I thought I could put that on your radar.
they're having trouble with what?
The call-in number.
The call-in number was on the flyers and the literature.
You talking about the phone number?
I believe that's what I saw. Yes.
Because they wouldn't be on if they didn't have the number.
There is
Correct.
2 people that have messaged saying the call is not working, says that the meeting is not started yet. 2 people, but I assume that they probably have called in, but they are using the wrong ID for the Zoom, the video aspect of it. So that may be the case.
Is there a workaround or something for them? Do you know?
Nope, they say the idea is correct. So I don't know what our max attendance is available, but we now have well over 100 people on right now.
I think it's something like 500, so that shouldn't be a problem. But
Okay.
we'll work on that in the meantime. But we've got Thelma and then Marina. Thelma?
She's muted.
I know.
Unmute, I'm here. Good evening, everyone. I have to share some of my concerns as well. And those are the security and the parking. We bought our house right across from it in 1986. So we've been here for a while and the neighborhood was really nice and now it's not as nice. We do definitely have a parking problem and I don't want to be redundant, but people from the park comes here and parks. We don't even have space for our children to come visit. There's always, they leave the cars there forever and ever. And I believe that some of that problem is also the people, the owners of the houses and the people that are renting houses that have multiple cars. But that's one of my concerns, the parking of the people that come to visit on top of the people that live there. Security wise also, because like the other lady expressed, we're elderly, we're senior citizen people that have lived here for over 30 years. And I don't know, but I read there that it says the park has been on police watch for over 10 years. I don't know what kind of police watch, because we have observed a lot of activity, illegal activity in the parks for many, many years. So I'm not sure about the police watch that is happening there. Also, years ago, I had a cleaning lady that lived there, and I drove her there because I was afraid of her crossing the street, because Balboa is like a freeway. I mean, every night there's between 3 to 5 car accidents, either on Balboa and Roscoe, Balboa and Parthenia, Balboa and Nordhoff. It's getting really, really bad. And so I drove her there, and the gate was broken. So I don't know how often the gate breaks, but anyway, when I went inside the park, I was saddened and amazed because the living conditions there were awful. I believe that every family is entitled to a decent place to live, but I suggest that you guys look more into the parking problem as well as the security problem, because it's sad for us senior citizen people to be living here for all our lives and all of a sudden not feeling secure because we don't know when we're going to be assaulted. That's another thing that we get on citizen every day, assaulted at gunpoint, this and that, on Balboa and Saracoy all the time. So I just joined this meeting because it's a big concern for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Linda, if I could just sort of 2 comments there. One,
Sure.
I'm hearing, and I know folks maybe not quite saying it, there's a concern that people who are lower income might be dangerous. And there's nothing to prove that that's just not the case. I think there's a perception that sometimes the people who are lower income or working 2 jobs, that they're somehow more dangerous or harmful to neighbors. It's just not a true perception. And I apologize for just kind of being so blunt, but that really is the case. And I am hearing some of those concerns. So I just want to be very, very direct about it. And I can't speak to how long ago Thelma dropped off her cleaning lady at the mobile home park. But what I can tell you is when we started this project over 2 years ago, I met at Love's with Senior Lead Officer Hugo Fuentes and his partner. And he said, look, that park a decade ago was a real problem. Today, it's a safe park. It's the park that's just a bit north of us. That's the one that SLO Fuentes worries about.
Thank you. Okay, next is Marina and then Tor. Go ahead, Marina. Marina, can you unmute yourself, please?
Why don't we come back to it?
Yeah. Tor, you're next.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I live just a few blocks away from this proposed development, so I wanted to make a comment in support of it, and kind of want to clear up a few things. So first off, it sounds like almost everyone on this call it has the luxury of currently being a homeowner. So if you're currently a homeowner, the talk of being worried about property values being affected is pretty ridiculous, considering if you look back, you'll see homes in Lake Balboa have nearly doubled in value in the last 10 years, doubled. Most houses that were $350,000 a decade ago can now sell for about $650,000. So any talk of, oh no, this is going to affect my property value is simply ridiculous. So for everyone else who doesn't have the luxury that so many of us do of being a homeowner right now, the cost of rent is bleeding them dry. The rent is too damn high, is what a man once said. So the only way to decrease the rate of rent increase is to build additional housing units. So if you want people to be able to afford to live in our area without having to spend a massive percentage of their income on rent every month, you have to add additional housing units. That's just a fact. It's been borne out in numerous studies. And no, it doesn't matter if the new units are quote unquote luxury, because when those luxury units are built, it just makes the older buildings that were once called luxury no longer be considered luxury. So I'd also like to point out the contradiction of people on here saying there's going to be too much traffic. And then they follow that up with, but we also want more parking spaces. That is a complete contradiction, because more parking spaces will result in more traffic, because it will mean that the people that choose to live there will be ones who own more cars. If you have fewer parking spaces, people who are okay with fewer parking spaces, AKA they own fewer cars, will be the people who choose to live there. So again, in conclusion, I'd just like to voice my support for this development being approved and going ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Joyce and then Peggy. Joyce, will you unmute?
I think I did.
Thank you. Yes, you did.
Okay, my thought is more about resources and just having more people in the area, because my utilities go up and up and up, and I do improvements and they still go up, and they ask you not to run your AC and don't use too much water. And if you build buildings with 150 apartments, they're going to have toilets and showers and air conditioning and all of that good stuff, I would hope. And that just pulls on the resources that we have. And, you know, that's troublesome when you think about it in terms of our usage and the traffic. And also, are these, when you talk about low income, these would not be offered to the homeless. And I'm not saying that because I'm against the homeless or anything, but these are people that are a step up from the homeless, or who are these people that are going to be below market rate?
So we are going to work with folks. Well, sorry, first, Joyce, let me answer your question about sort of that. Is there enough water? Is there enough power? Those types of things. When this project goes forward, what will happen, or I should say, if this project goes forward, excuse me, we will be required to work with the Department of Water and Power and look at exactly how much more power is going to be needed for the property. In some cases, the Department of Water and Power will require that developers spend a lot of money to improve the power infrastructure or the water infrastructure, not just for that property, but sort of for the neighborhood in order to facilitate it. And that process takes quite a long time after the project is approved. So it's not like you just kind of plug your cord into the existing outlet and hope that it works. And so usually you don't actually find a drain on existing resources. You find that they improve a bit because developers are forced by the Department of Water and Power to spend so much on infrastructure. To your question about who are going to be the folks in the low income units, again, I think we're going to be working with Valley Community Healthcare and their employees. We'd like to make the low income units and, available to, folks who previously lived in the building or previously lived at the site who might be asked to move, or they're, maybe relatives of folks who live in the mobile home park. It's not like we have this very organized plan yet, but we're also not going to sort of discriminate against, I'm not saying that you're suggesting this, but I heard it in one or two of the other calls, but sort of like, we're not going to discriminate against anybody because they are low income. In fact, that's what we want to help people with in terms of getting really high quality housing at a rate that's not astronomical.
Well, I just wondered because they always are talking about, low income or affordable, but I mean, what is your ballpark for affordable?
So I'm glad you asked. I've got my notes here somewhere. Sorry. I mean, at the very low end, and I really want to emphasize that this is not all of the apartments. It's about 10 of the lower income units. They would start at about $600 a month. And that's for somebody who makes around $24,000, $25,000 a year. So, $600 apartment in this brand new building. It goes up depending on what your income is, up to a certain level. And then some of them will be up for sort of market rate, whatever a brand new building would normally be. It'll be about half and half.
Thank you. Peggy and then Keith.
Hi, I'm actually Peggy's husband. I had two quick questions as far as the building itself. First, what is the mix of 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and studio apartments? And approximately how large is the daycare center? How many kids will it be able to service?
Yeah, let me grab this. Okay, cool. Here we go. Sorry, I'm doing my math real quickly. So there are going to be 21 studio apartments. They're going to be 84 1-bedroom apartments. And there are going to be 45 2-bedroom apartments. And I really hope that adds up to 150. In terms of the daycare, I don't have an exact number on how many kids are there. It's going to depend on who the operator is, what the right amount of space. You can't put 50 kids in a smaller daycare. So, I mean, I'm sort of thinking and please don't hold me to this, maybe a dozen, 2 dozen, somewhere in that number. We're not talking a huge daycare. It's a smaller daycare.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing Justin's note pop up here. It says it's 464 square feet. I appreciate that, Justin. There's a wall that breaks down in the middle. And so it breaks down during the day to what's called the game room, if you look at the plans. And so during the day, the whole space becomes the daycare. And then at night is when it separates out. So you've got 2 separate rooms.
Thank you. So next will be Keith.
You're done. Get off of it.
I think.
Go ahead, Keith. Keith, you're unmuted.
Uh-oh. 1 second. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm actually with everything that's going on, in LA, and even before the pandemic, the homeless problem and the housing problem for a lot of Los Angeles County residents is just really, and Ventura County was just really, really bad. So I'm in support of this project. That makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. My question just comes down to what is the plan around some mentally ill people can be kind of violent. So can some drug users. That's not the case for everybody. So I don't want to put everybody in the same bucket, but is there a plan to either admit or deny these people into the complex or to deal with such an issue?
So I want to, I think, clarify. And I appreciate your question. Thank you. I think there are a couple of, there's like a misperception that like people who are sort of low income might have some of these other issues. And I just want to separate between the two. And sorry, Keith, I'm not suggesting that you're saying it, but just because the question kind of comes up a bit. This will be a building that will have staff, including security. And so this isn't sort of like a homeless housing project. I want to make that really clear. For folks who believe that homeless folks might be dangerous, that's not what this project is. I just want to make that really clear.
Thank you. Next is Wendy Lynn and then Daisy.
Hello, yes, my name is Wendelin Emmerich, and I have a couple questions for you. First, I'm going towards approval for this project because listening to you and your explanations regarding low income, and I want people to recognize that low income does not mean homeless and other things unilaterally or drug users. Low income can be the person who works at the Ralph down the street or the Home Depot or in those little strip malls. Low income are people in our community. I know my husband and I are disabled and I'm over 60, he's approaching it, and we are on SSDI. We constitute as low income, but we are homeowners because we had the home before these things happened. So yes, low income people are not the slime of the earth, and you really need to realize that. So I welcome this, that you're going to give low-income people housing and what looks like nice housing on a sliding scale. So thank you for that. I am concerned about the displacement of the current residents. So it would be nice to see that they get first shot at the low-income units. Secondarily, I would like to put in this concept that it says that you're going to have some electric charging units in the parking area. You probably need to put in a unit between every 2 parking spaces because of how California is phasing out fossil fuel vehicles. It's going to come to where the usage of charging stations are going to be much more necessary for people. So that was the other caveat I had. Also, please make sure that people are allowed to have their pets in the building. As this pandemic has shown, people need their pets. And as long as they keep them in the units and everybody's clean and respectful, it should be fine. And maybe a garden on the roof might be nice for some more green space, and definitely solar and wind generators for power to the building. Those are my concerns.
Thank you. Just 2 quick responses, Linda. 1, this is a 100% pet-friendly building. And 2, we're going to be putting in 56 electric vehicle charging stations or EV-ready stalls. So there will be a lot of EV parking, which I think will accommodate the need, at least for a great period of time. And if we need to put in more 15 years from now, we're always able to do that.
Daisy, you're next. Can you unmute, please? Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Hi, my name is Daisy. I was previously a tenant of 7650. I actually grew up in 7650 for a really long time. And I also build affordable housing. And I am now a resident of Lake Balboa again. So I have a couple of comments. I think there's a lot of concern around parking and the types of families that live in the park. I don't think anyone has really asked about the relocation plan for the 23 families that are being displaced. I understand that there's a relocation consultant that's a part of the project and that is trying to figure out what kind of relocation agreement they're going to create with each individual family. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I feel like this development cannot move forward without knowing what's going to happen to those 23 families. That isn't one of the concerns that anyone has brought up. There also hasn't been any plan of action for rent control board protections for the existing tenants that are going to stay in the park. You know, it really feels like there has been no communication. I heard that there's been letters sent out, that there's been some certified mail. We don't know if that's been bilingual. We don't know if anyone has really received this communication. And, you know, as an affordable housing developer, this really isn't truly affordable housing. If you're having 50-50 of the development be for some market rate and for some affordable. So I really, again, would ask the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council to reconsider approving this project when it seems like the developer has not really worked on a relocation plan to ensure that these families are going to be okay. And that the rest of the community in the park is going to be protected once the project is built. There also hasn't been a lot of clear answers around traffic and construction. I think the developer has really skirted around a lot of these questions. So I really would appreciate some more thoughtfulness out of the developer before you can approve this project.
Linda, can I add a little bit of information to some of the questions or comments that Daisy asked?
Absolutely, please.
Thank you. Daisy, thank you for bringing up all of these issues. So first, and I think there's been a misconception about what is or isn't rent controlled. So the mobile home park is already rent controlled. It's rent controlled by law. That's not going to change. So I want to be really clear. It's not like a mobile home, like somehow that's going to change. It's already protected by state law. And that's been in place for some time, and it's not going anywhere in the future. So I know that a commenter or one of the questions earlier, somebody said it's going to be, you know, sort of thrown open to the wolves, and that's not the case. It's already protected by state law. So on the working with the 23 families or the 23 folks that live in these units, first of all, the communication has been bilingual. I've got it printed here in my office. And the stuff that we put out in the mail has also been bilingual, as well as the flyers that we've left at folks' doors. You know, there really has been a very robust effort to try to talk with folks, and there have been a number of folks who said that they didn't want to talk with us. And so for those who are willing to have said that they want to talk with us, we're certainly happy, and we've asked to, and we have begun those conversations. And as Daisy, you mentioned, it sounds like you're very familiar, you know, with these. Each family works with a developer, in this case, to develop a custom relocation package. And so that's what we've been doing with folks who have been willing to have those conversations, and some have not. So we haven't.
Aaron, let me just, there's a gazillion questions and let me just expand on.
Jerry, I'm sorry, one last thing, I apologize.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
There's, I want to make really clear, this isn't like a lot of what people often hear when they think of affordable housing projects, in the sense that usually those affordable housing projects get large amounts of tax dollars in terms of, you know, building funds that are, you know, provided by the city and the state and those types of things. This project isn't doing any of that. This project is purely privately financed, and so it's different. Some folks are familiar with the HHH money that was passed by ballot measure, $1.2 billion that goes towards affordable housing that voters passed. This project's not getting HHH money. This developer doesn't have to volunteer so much of the project at below market rate. As Jake mentioned, he chose to because this is the way that he wants to pursue this project. And so I just want to draw a distinction. We're not trying to be the below market rate, sort of the affordable housing project that folks think of when they think of all the tax funded stuff and what you might see somewhere else. This is very different. This is a mix, and this is all voluntary, and this is all privately funded.
Thank you, Aaron. if you could expand just a little bit in terms of relocation, there's a ton of people asking about the people that are going to be displaced. What does that entail? What kind of incentives or packages? How is all of that happening? If let's say it happens tomorrow, what would that look like?
So it couldn't happen tomorrow. So there's a minimum 6-month process. I'm seeing somebody in the chat saying be specific. So it is, there's a, honestly, so it's called an interview. There's an original interview with a relocation expert, and then there's an assessment done of each family's needs and each family's income, where they work, how long they've been there. And in addition to that, there is then an assessment on the value of the property that they own, whether the mobile home park that they own. There are then also additional state funds and state requirements that are provided to folks. And what ends up happening is a very specific package gets calculated on a case-by-case basis. That, in this type of situation, I mean, you're talking about minimum of several tens of thousands of dollars for each family, because the mobile home has to be purchased for an assessed value, which is often much, much higher than what it could be actually sold for. And then in addition to that, there are lots of other sort of requirements that are stacked on top of that. I am not a relocation expert, so I can't tick through the 36 boxes here for you tonight. But that is generally speaking how that works. There's and we've hired a firm that just does this work for this project.
And if I can add something just real quickly, again, I'm going to put mine and Aaron's contact information in the chat box. If some people that are present today, if they are part of the mobile home park and know of someone that hasn't connected with us or now is willing to speak to us, please have them reach out. And if they're bilingual, we'll connect them to someone who speaks Spanish as well.
And sorry, because I see, some of the chats popping up about there's no specialist that's been hired. That's absolutely not true. So there has been and has been for 2 years, a member, like a whole firm that just does relocation experts, not me knocking on somebody's door. We've hired a firm to do this work.
Okay, excuse me, Denise, you're next, and then someone on the phone ending in 553 will be after Denise.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry. I couldn't get unmuted. I did want to speak in support of the project. I do think it's very valuable to have low-income housing available, and especially in this market, this climate, and in this area. Totally understand the concerns that people have about parking, and I hope that the developer does the right thing there. But I do want to say that I agree with the project, and I'm also really disappointed in people equating people who need a low-income apartment with a danger to the city or to be, to affect your security in some kind of way. Like it's not the same, it's not related, and shame on you.
Thank you. Okay, someone on the telephone ending in 553. Go ahead, please. Do a *6. Okay, we'll move right along then. We've got Anna and then JT. Anna, you're next. I think they waited too long, huh? Anna, unmute, please. Okay, Anna, we'll go for JT.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yay, JT.
Hey, good evening.
Hi.
Yeah, no, I live a few blocks away from this development. Now, I did just want to share my personal support for the project because beyond it being a really nice looking building with a lot of good features, I just think that a lot of people in this area desperately need this housing. Now, I think a lot of people are forgetting the fact that it's also an investment, not only in the area, but like the potential future of everyone in that area. So I just think it's a really good thing that you guys are doing. So that's all I wanted to say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
Great.
Trisha and then Marina.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I feel like the gentleman who was expressing concern about, it sounded like he wanted to know if you were going to vet the low income people. I don't think that was really answered. I live next to a group home. It was set up without anybody's permission in the neighborhood. There are two really nice people that live in there, but with the rest of the dozen that have been there, and there's quite a bit of turnover, have been thieves, drug addicts. They do drugs sitting on the edge of the curb in front of our homes. So people that are kind of judging us for being concerned about that it's what we've experienced. We've had our plants ripped out of our front yard. Our neighbors have had a sign ripped out of their yard. They dump the trash, which they have like, I think 4 black barrels filled with rotted food and dirty diapers just for that one home. So it's a valid concern. Will the residents be vetted for their health? If you're going to, are you going to see if they're drug addicts or if they have violent history, or that I'm concerned about safety, just like some of the other people have expressed.
So Tricia, we're going to vet all of our residents the same way that any property owner would to make sure that they're safe. And this can't be a dangerous building, period. That's a legal liability for the ownership, and it's not the type of thing that we would allow to happen. So whether somebody is low income, not low income, doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, you have to be well behaved, you have to be a good resident in this building. So it's going to be applicable to everybody.
Thank you. Next is Marina. Going once?
I think Marina's on mute, Linda.
Yeah.
Yes, and she's been up before, and she couldn't get on.
Yeah. Okay. There's 2 folks that are guests. There's I'll allow this one to talk first.
Hi, I actually also live a couple of blocks away from this project, and I wanted to support this project basically because I believe that the building is actually gonna improve the area and the city. It's a beautiful building. There's nothing like that in the city in Lake Balboa. I mean, all cities around us are improving, building things, improving the city in general, the way it looks. People are getting there, better people are moving in the city, but nothing is changing in this city, to be honest. And I've been here for about 6-7 years. And I think that low-income families, high-income families, this is going to be a mix. It's going to bring all people together. It's going to give chance for low-income people to live there and high-income. So it's not just a matter of making money there. And I also wanted to comment about Trisha's comment. She was talking about people with drugs, and a lot of people are concerned about, I mean, drugs are everywhere, wherever you go, anywhere you go. But I think this building, when it replaces the mobile homes, I think better people are going to be coming to this building. I mean, you have these issues because you have mobile homes there. If you don't have mobile homes, you are not going to have these issues, in my opinion. And I think that the company is not going to just lease the apartment to anyone and everyone. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to be doing some background checks and checking about these people before you get them in there. I just don't want to take a lot of time. I just want to support this project, and I think it's going to be beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. I see that the telephone ending in 553 is available. It's your turn. And maybe not.
Linda, I think somebody has to
Oh.
press like *6 or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was just a thing that said that they didn't know how to unmute themselves. Can we explain to them how easy it is to unmute themselves?
Yeah, *6.
But even on the picture.
It's on the telephone.
At the
*6.
Oh, no, people are asking in terms of being able to ask questions. You have to raise your hand to be acknowledged, and we will give you permission to be able to speak. And we're trying to do it in order. So raise your hand, and as we go down the list, we'll select you, we'll call your name out, and you'll be able to speak.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. We've got Miguel and then another guest.
Hello, Linda.
Yes, great.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. How's it going? I just have a quick comment. I've been having an opportunity to listen to everyone, especially all the neighbors and community around us. So I thank everyone for coming out. I'm a resident here at this mobile home. One of the things I want to address that I'm sure the developers have been doing their best to address too is obviously the stigma of the identity that everyone is attaching to us for living in this mobile home. We're an identity. We're people that live here. We're people that go to work like everyone else does, put on their boots at 9 or 8 in the morning, some of us even 5 or 6. We go out to work every single day, especially in a tumultuous year that I'm sure everyone understands. The pandemic hit those from wealthy families down to low-income families. I just want to say one thing. We are already low-income housing. We're very low-income housing. For many of us, this is our last step between having a place to live and homelessness. And for many of those that are associating that our park is an aesthetic or a blip to this community is degrading. We have plenty of children, plenty of families who are well educated. They may not be the smartest people in English, but they are one of the most intelligent people in Spanish or any other language. And here is the issue with a development that is proposing a 50-50 low-income housing. For those of you who have said they are in agreement with the project, we are not a pimple at this community that you can just pop and erase. Creating a building in front of our park is a further form of racism that'll disconnect us even further, which is what some may want. But some of us are looking at a way to integrate us into this community in order for us to survive. We are only trying our best. Many of the community is also associating that the traffic and the parking and the crimes that are being committed are towards them, which is incorrect. A lot of the stuff that is being broken into, vandalized, is our own. We've been struggling for years on end. I've been here for 20 years and have seen people fall into homelessness and then have another chance to live here by whatever divine power, whatever opportunity they've been given. So one of the things I do just want to mention is we as a community here at this mobile home park are trying the best that we can. But creating something new does not solve the problem that we are facing right now. Many of us are already finding it hard to bounce back from the pandemic. We don't have the luxury or opportunity to move forward as many of other people do. Many homeowners have the opportunity to keep going forward. They may slip back a little bit more, but for us, perfection is the only thing we can reach. If we slip one bit from now and so on, it's the only thing separating us from homelessness. So I am asking the neighborhood council to really consider whether this project will serve us here, the residents at this mobile home park, to our benefit and not just those around us, because we still need help. We're not asking for money. We're not asking for jobs. We're just asking for a chance to live in order for us to continue doing the jobs that most people don't want to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have guest and then Justin.
Thank you so much, Miguel, for your vulnerability and your complete honesty. I am honored to be your neighbor. With this project, I do not agree with it. I think exactly what Miguel is saying is you're taking low-income families and putting them out on the streets. These people, us, we own our homes. And there's a lot of pride in this neighborhood. So with that and this project that's now not a 7-story, it is an 8-story building. You allow this 8-story building to come into Balboa. You are now about to have 3 more in the back of this park. You will have 4 in the next park, and you'll have 2 in the next park. And that's what you want for your neighborhood. With the gentleman, Aaron, who said to the nice lady who lives across the street from the park, if you don't like the parking there, we'll go ahead and call the city for you and we'll get you parking restrictions.
That's
Now,
actually what I said.
okay,
Sorry.
Aaron, thank you. How is that unifying the neighborhood across the street? What you're doing is you're separating even more. If is Jake still on the call? If he would give us the 35 parking spaces back that he took away 3 years, you wouldn't have that problem across the street in Balboa. And I'm so sorry for those neighborhoods that are working with that, but don't pit us against each other. Now, my question is, one, there is this relocation specialist that has to be coming from the city. You haven't had your public hearing yet, so the city has not assigned a relocation specialist.
That's actually not how that process
All right,
works.
Aaron, I'm sorry, you spoke. Let me finish and you can write your notes. The relocation specialist, the person who's come to the 23 homes and have not been so nice. They've been kind of intimidating, a little bit bullyish. They have been very secretive and not collaborative. And there's a lot of favoritism going on and a lot of backroom deals going on that I don't agree with completely at all. And so until the city assigns a relocation specialist, we will not have the fair representation. So that's what I wait for. I do not want to talk to Richard and his people he has hired. I want to talk to the people of the city who have been assigned relocation specialists. So with this, sir, I would also like to ask you a question. You want to have a zone change, and you also want to split the property, meaning that Richard is going to own this 8-story building, and then he's going to sell off the back. Now, what on the property line are you separating? Because my main concern is the 125 homes that will be left will not have an exit from the back. There's no property on Saticoy that has been bought yet to have an exit or an entrance. And that, my friend, is very, very concerning. We have one way in and one way out. And it is a huge emergency if there is another earthquake, which we already had, and that was horrible. So with all of that, I do not give my blessings to this project. And I wish what Jake said at the beginning of how Richard's heart is so loved for his community. I wish he showed that to the park for the last years and years and years that I've lived here, but he has not. And the water that you just fixed, that was because it broke. It wasn't because you decided to do water improvements, and the plants you've put on, that's only for your investors so that you can get an investment company in this property. You don't care about us. You don't care about our homes. You've intimidated us and you have harassed us. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you.
Linda, I guess I'll just say I talked to some of these sort of statements before about like the idea that there's sort of going to be a selling off or next phases of development, which there won't be. So I'm not sure that and there was a lot of stuff that the guest was, mentioned that just I think I had addressed before, just not true, but I don't know that I want to sort of, or need to take everybody's time sort of saying the same thing again. But I do hear her comments and her concerns.
Thank you. Justin, and then I think TJ, you've already had a question, if I remember correctly. And if you had, please lower your hand because we have some folks that have not asked questions yet. Thank you. Justin?
Yes, thank you. I would like to voice my support, obviously with conflicting opinions. I know everybody's got their thoughts on this. My question, Aaron, is there to the previous speaker, and thank you for mentioning that, will there be any ingress egress for the park for the people that may need to get out in a hurry? That was a question. And with mobile home parks being the last place of ownership for I would say the low rung for home ownership, what's to say that this won't be sold off in the future to private equity? It's happening all across the nation right now. So we're seeing people be displaced in these types of communities. However, I do appreciate the fact that it's mixed between market rate and low income housing, because low income housing, we need more of it in our community. The 2012 study, when we were on the neighborhood council together, Linda, showed that half of our community is low income. So these people are our neighbors, and we need to keep them here. We can't have just high income earners. Then who is going to serve the community? It's a tough decision, but I am a supporter of this project. I just would like to find out more about the people that are going to be displaced. Where are they going to go? Do they have first right to these low income units inside the project? Will they have first right of refusal? And how is that going to look for them? Is there payouts? I've read through this, but I don't have any of those details.
So I want to be a little careful, only because there are some confidentiality rules, because a lot of people have been asking about relocations. These are very substantial packages, and Justin, to your point, we will have to buy people's homes from them if we ask them to leave, in addition to a lot of other support that is legally required. I'm not in a position where I can disclose what any particular person might get. There's a sort of state confidentiality issues, and to say it in front of 100 other people on a Zoom meeting would be inappropriate and maybe violate some other sort of laws. But those are very substantial. We're not talking $10,000 here type of thing. The other piece that I would say is, the ingress and egress that will be created by the new building will actually improve access, and there won't be a selling off of the back. It kind of can't be parceled off because there's no other way to get in and get out except for the front. I understand that not everybody is going to take me at my word at that. So let me see what I can do to try to find some other information that will make folks feel a little bit more comfortable about what that is. I'm not quite sure what I can do. A lot of the legal separation of the lots has to do with the permitting, as well as some other components of the project, like from planning purposes and things like that. So I hope that kind of helps answer your question. I realize I'm not giving as detailed an answer as you asked for I think the reasons I explained.
Thank you.
Excuse me, can I make a couple of quick comments? It shouldn't take more than 38.
Well, it's 8:39 and we have 9 people with questions.
According to what I see, we got 130 33 questions and chats. But also, most importantly, we are going to ask everybody who is on this program how they feel about it. We're going to take a vote at 9 o'clock or earlier. This meeting will end at 9 o'clock or earlier. So this thing is not going to go on all night. But we also have in place a system that will allow you to ask the questions after 9 o'clock, and they will be addressed by the developer, and we will have the responses to them for our meeting on April the 5th. So I just wanted to let you know there appears to be a lot of questions from what I see, but more importantly, we are going to take a vote as to who approves or disapproves this project this evening. And then the land use committee will address everything on the 5th of April. Thank
Sorry,
you.
Tom, I think just for clarification, and maybe I'm wrong, you're not voting tonight, you're voting at your land use committee meeting, correct?
Yeah, I'll clarify that. What's going to happen tonight is everyone that's on the Zoom can do a poll, and we're going to ask the people to answer if they're in support or not in support. And that will be at the end of all the questions. And then when the land use meeting has its meeting, I think it's the April 5th, then they will discuss further by board members and then take a vote. And then bring it to the full Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. Anyway, we've got a bunch of questions. TJ, did you already ask a question?
No, I think you got me confused with JT.
Oh,
I think there was a JT earlier. But my name's TJ. I just want to take a moment to share support for the project. I think that low-income housing could help bring a lot of great ideas to the area and the rest of the valley. Cost of living in LA and the majority of the state of California is, essentially outrageous in a lot of places. And I think someone earlier in the call made a comment about, a lot of people early on that I heard were, essentially homeowners, so those are people who've been established and able, one person mentioned they said they were there since 1996, and 96 to 2021, the cost of living is vastly different. It was way cheaper to get in and, get, a good foundation going for yourself. Nowadays, it's a lot harder, especially for the younger generation, to get out on their feet. And I think someone was mentioning earlier that they were, I guess, trying to make the connection that low income housing is tied to heavy drug usage, which I just think that connection is just not a good connection to make. Overall, anyone can be doing drugs. We see celebrities on, with drug stories all the time. So low income housing and tying that to drug usage is a bad comparison because it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, with that being said, I think this is a good idea. I think it'll help the community, help the city, and overall be good for LA.
Linda, just a quick question for me on the poll that you mentioned. Are folks who are on the phone and folks that are sort of using the translation services also can be able to do that, or how does that work? Just curiosity for me.
I don't know about the telephone, but definitely those on Zoom.
Okay. But folks who are on the phone sounds like maybe.
There's, I think, 3, 4 on the phone. Okay. There's somebody called iPad and then Anna. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please, iPad. You're unmuted. I think you're having difficulty though.
Is he on the phone or live?
iPad, I guess. We'll move on to Anna.
Hello.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, so I wanted to speak in as a resident from the mobile home park. I grew up here, so it's been an amazing experience to grow up with such a close-knit community, despite obviously all of the stereotypes that are around it from our neighbors. I do believe that at the end of the day, this project, it does not come from a place that offers genuine help. As a resident, I think that, you know, as they've mentioned before, obviously a lot of people here have been doing the best that they can to be able to continue with their lives. And all of the families here are very hardworking. So you know, trying to provide the best that they can for their families. I don't think there has been a lot of consideration, obviously, for the families that even if this building were to be built, you know, the consideration for the families that will continue to live here in the back, where, you know, there's going to be a lot of repercussions in regards to construction. You know, there are a lot of kids and just kind of like the environment in regards to all of the dust and to all of the noise. And that's not really such a home environment that they would even be placing those families in during construction. So I definitely would ask the community to not approve this project, as a lot of families would be significantly impacted. And, you know, it's just, it's very unfair, I believe, that they would be expected to place, you know, a lot of them would be placing their faith and, you know, the future in the hands of these developers who have not offered a helping hand to them for the past several years, but, you know, just show up now. So.
Thank you. Tiara?
Hi,
Hi.
can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So hi, my name is Tiara. I'm a resident calling in support of the Balboa Blvd project that we're discussing tonight. It can't really be said enough that we're in a housing crisis. We need to add more housing, especially below market rate units. I think the way that this is designed looks really nice. It accomplishes a lot. It's well thought out for the stretch of Balboa. I know that there was a few people that were more concerned about the type of the type of people that would be in the community, but as others did state, like, you can't really judge a book by its cover, and you really don't know who, you know, you're coming across just because, you know, somebody looks like they're made of money or might, you know, look a lot more richer than the next person. They can also be battling some sort of addiction or have some sort of a criminal background. You can't just assume because somebody looks a certain way or they're in a certain neighborhood that they fit a certain stereotype. I think it'll be great for the community, of course, to be able to open that up and have a lot more residents there. But of course, buildings do like background checks. They make sure that the tenants that they have living there, of course, are, you know, up to code, up to par, and that they're not, you know, any riffraff from any of that. So if that was the case, I'm sure like any other apartment building or any other place that you live, they would handle that and put those people out. So, I don't know. I'm in complete support of it. We're in times right now where we kind of need to be in support of each other. We're in a trying time. We're all in this together. And it's just something that you would hope more people would be understanding about.
Thank you. Thank you. We have only about 10 more minutes. So if those that are going to speak now, you could make it as succinct as you possibly can, I'd appreciate it. Steve and then AL.
Hi, yeah, I tuned in a little late, so I didn't know if somebody had covered this before, but it's in terms of precedence. Once you put one 7-story building on Balboa Boulevard, then anybody else that wants to do a similar thing is going to do the same thing and say, look, they allowed that one, so they can't deny this one. Currently in Lake Balboa, I think the tallest building we have is 4 stories. I think there's that office building that's right next to the freeway that might be 5. It's just too much density. As it is, the traffic is already terrible. If you talk about being close to public transportation, we know that the buses slow down in the traffic too because they don't have a separate way. You have the issue of left turns in and out of the property. If you add that to another 175 or 350 cars a day for cars going in and out of that property, the left turn is a killer. So unless there's a traffic light being put there for some reason, you're going to have lots of accidents, and it's going to be a tough nut to deal with. And as far as the back half of the property, Aaron, you said, no, they're not going to do anything that would restrict that. Well, if somebody buys the property that's the park that goes to Satakoy and decides they want to build in the whole thing, they have an access point, another way to get in. So unless you can have certified that, that's not going to happen for 30 years, I don't think you can legally do that. To say that they have no plans for selling off part of the property again, I don't think you can restrict the new owner from doing that. Okay, that's it. I'm done.
Thank you. AL?
Hi there. I appreciate the value of the project in meeting the needs of the low-income prospective residents, but I am quite concerned about the residents of the mobile park like Miguel. So that's a big concern for me. I would like to have answer when the project would be completed if it goes through. I would also like to see more underground parking above and beyond what was already added. And I would like to know if there is going to be any cell towers that could add to or any kind of 5G or radio frequencies additional emitted, on top of the building or in the development that could actually impact as far as radiation onto the residents. I am a homeowner who lives nearby. Thank you.
Just to the last question from AL, we do not currently have any plans for any cell towers or radio towers or 5G repeaters or anything like that.
We've got Sabidi. I think I've mispronounced your name. I apologize. Can you unmute? Thank you.
¿Aló? ¿Hola?
Yes.
Mi nombre en realidad es Luz María Soto, soy hermana de Speidi y soy una de las residentes del parque. De hecho, la unidad de mi hermana Speidi es una de las que va a ser removida y pues en realidad se me hace un proyecto muy utópico para hacer realidad. Y por el otro lado, ¿qué pasa con estas unidades que van a ser removidas? Para nosotros estas son nuestras casas. Hemos trabajado para vivir aquí y somos en su mayoría personas que tenemos educación, que tenemos familias, tenemos niños. En el caso de esta unidad hay una niña de 10 años que pues está triste porque van a tumbar su casa, igual que todos mis vecinos. Yo entiendo que tengan preocupación por los estacionamientos, los vecinos que viven alrededor y que tienen sus casas, pero aquí lo más importante es qué va a pasar con esas familias que están viviendo aquí y que por lo que veo no se les tome en cuenta. ¿Cómo es posible que se tengan que sacrificar esas familias y que creamos que van a tener un espacio para 150 más? Es decir, que las 23 unidades que van a ser removidas no importan. Porque yo para creer en el proyecto, pues no puedo creer que se tenga que sacrificar una vida para que se salven 10. En este caso, que tengamos que ser removidos 23 unidades para que haya 150 unidades más.
So, Linda, I'm sorry, I'm not
Okay,
fluent
just a
in
second.
English.
Carla, would you be able to assist us?
She had mentioned that there is they have a 10-year-old girl that's sad, would be sad to have the house be taken away. And I guess one of the other questions was, how does moving 23 units help by adding 150 more units? So I guess that was the question.
I mean, I think we sort of talked to that, Jeremy, a bit already. But I mean, I guess I'm not sure if there's anything additional to sort of to jump in on.
Thank you.
I think just, yeah, understood.
Okay, we can take two more, Raquel and then Cecilia, and the other folks that have their hand raised, I'm sorry, we won't get to you tonight. If you would please go on to our website, www.lakebalboa.nc.org/7650 Balboa. You can ask your question or send your comments. We'd appreciate it, but everyone else will not get a chance tonight. Raquel?
Yeah. The one thing I would say, Linda, forgive me, I'm sort of thinking through, and our team has been sort of like looking at sort of legal, what I can say, what I can't say about relocation. I can say that sort of at a macro level, without talking about individuals and their particular circumstances, in total, there's going to be at least $1 million for the 23 families that that's going to be provided by way of relocation. So this isn't something where it's like $10,000 a family or something like that. This is a significant amount of money. I apologize for the Spanish speaker, because I'm not fluent in Spanish. I really wish I could have heard her question. So,
yeah.
Hello.
Raquel, yes.
Hi. My name's Rachel, and I just want to say that I am in full support of this project, and I'm very excited that there's a project out here that is actually offering up to 50% of affordable housing. That is wonderful. As a local renter in Balboa and Van Owen, and as a teacher, affordable housing is extremely important. Tonight, sadly, I've been on the Zoom and I've heard people make so many derogatory statements to people who need affordable housing. And if we're honest here, we live in California. Housing is not affordable. And for people who are teachers, people who are nurses, people who work in all of those communities that serve other people's, and those homeowners that feel like they deserve everything, it's not fair to use code words like, oh, they're homeless, they're criminals, they use drugs. Those are all, or what will the traffic be like? Those are all code for saying we only want people in our area that look like us, only people that are already homeowners. Not everyone, especially in this time frame, can be a homeowner, but we do deserve the right to have a safe, affordable place to live. And beyond that, when you have people when you build in a new area, you attract more business, you attract more money to an area. And if people are so concerned about crime, what they're forgetting is it's a lot easier when a person can actually afford their rent and have a nice home for their families before it's too late. But once a person becomes homeless, the difficulties of actually being a citizen that can actively be a part of the economy and the community is a lot more difficult. So for those people on here saying that they have those other concerns, or they say this project isn't enough, this project is bringing more than a lot of other projects. And it's wonderful to see that that actually could happen in this area. And the fact that changes are already, and I heard people say, oh, this trailer home is this and this trailer home is this. they're already offering to fix some of those problems. And the fact that you guys are already working on parking and parks for people, to me, it seems like this is a real opportunity for people. And the fact that you're not just trying to throw people out of their homes and giving them a real opportunity. I just want to thank you guys, and I apologize. That was a long way for me to say that I support this project. And I think other people need to take a real look at what they're really trying to say, because this should be about the community and helping the community economically and helping people buy homes. So thank you, or rent homes.
Thank you. Okay, last comment and question is Cecilia.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, my concern with this is that there has been a lot of talk about relocation towards, the members that are living already in that community. And I am a part of that community who would have to be relocated. And I have no information at all. I have not been approached in any way. No one in my household has been approached in any way. So I honestly feel like we have been talking to a wall the whole time. And this is not something that should be taken lightly. And I agree that affordable housing is something that is needed, but we are talking about the benefits after the fact. We are not talking about the residents that are currently struggling with these decisions right now. There are a lot of residents who have lived here for over 20 years, my mother included. She worked hard her whole life to provide this house for us, and I've lived here my whole life, and it is something that a lot of younger kids are also dealing with, and they don't have, the mental capacity to deal with. And it is slowly, making neighbors turn against each other. And that is my concern. And I don't think that this should be approved, because it is not, everyone is saying we should help the community, but we are not helping the community that is most needed right now, which are the residents already living in that community. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. Okay, well, it's the bewitching hour of 9:01 p.m. So we're going to, I'm going to hit the polls button at this moment. And you will see that there is a vote. Do you support this project? Yes or no? If you could do that, I'd appreciate it. In the meantime, there will be a further discussion at the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council Land Use Committee meeting, which will be on April 5, 2021 at 7 p.m. It's going to be the same Zoom address and the same phone number. So if you got on today, you'll get on April 5. Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council thanks you for your time tonight. Thank you to Weintraub Real Estate Group and Arifat Consulting Group for answering all our questions and concerns. And again, if you have any that have not yet been answered, or you have a burning question, please go to www.lakebalboanc.org/7650 Balboa, and we will be able to forward your questions on. Again, we are your Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. We meet the first Wednesday of every month. If you go to the same website, you'll see information about our meetings. And I want to thank everyone, and good night.
Wait. Linda, I'm clicking on the poll and nothing's happening.
Well, it is on my end.
No, Linda, it says if you're a host, you can't do it. So maybe.
Yeah, hosts and panelists are not eligible to vote. Only
was that Tom?
stakeholders.
Yeah, no, you can't vote, Tom.
Well, you sent me the thing.
Well, it goes to everyone.
Oh, I see. Okay. That's fair. I can work with that.
All right.
Are you going to let us know the result?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Wait, can't we know the result of the poll?
Who is speaking, please?
Oh, it's me, Danica. Sorry.
No.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, that lady. That's what we have the meeting on the 5th for.
Thank you very much, Linda. Everybody who
Thank you.
participated, asked questions, support, your criticism, all of it is very appreciated.
And thank
Be
you for your
continued.
effort. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you.